Great. All right, welcome again. So here we have Zen Lee, who is a licensed psychologist. She coordinates and works here at our Counseling and Psychological Service Center here at Utah State Logan campus. She completed an internship with CAPS and earned her PhD in counseling and psychology from Brigham Young University in 2017. After that, she worked at Purdue University Counseling Center for a year and then rejoined our CAPS team here in 2018. She enjoys hiking, reading, spending time with dogs in her free time. And so, Zen, thank you for presenting to us today, and I'll give it over to you.
Thank you, Ryan. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully I can do that. All right, so let's get started. Today we're going to talk about self-care. But actually, before we get to self-care, something that I want to focus on a little bit is stress. Typically, when people are experiencing a lot of stress, we could get really overwhelmed. Sometimes we are too overwhelmed. We just focus on pushing it through instead of slowing down and taking care of ourselves. The thing is, when we are really overwhelmed, when we don't take time to check in with ourselves and slow down, we don't really know that we need to practice some self-care exercises. So that's why I want to talk about stress. We'll spend a little bit of time there, and then we'll do a mindfulness reflective exercise, kind of a check-in with yourself. That should be pretty relaxing. And then we'll go into how to build a self-care toolkit for yourself. And if you have any questions, you can just let me know, and I'll answer them as we go. Okay, so there's a lot of different definitions of stress. The one that I like and I'm using here is stress is when a person perceives that demands exceed the personal and social resources that they are able to mobilize. According to this definition, it's not just what's going on. It's not just, the external stressors like exams or relationship issues or finances. It's also how we perceive it. Sometimes I hear students saying something like, oh, I shouldn't feel stressed, or I know someone else who's taking 20 credit hours and working a part-time job and doing quite well. Why am I so overwhelmed? The thing is, we are so different. Our circumstances are so different. So I just want to help people develop a little bit of self-compassion for yourself. Sometimes maybe what you're experiencing is so different from what other people are experiencing. It's important that you honor your own experience. So stress has to do with that perception. It also has to do with our personal and social resources. That's why today we're going to talk about self-care. Even if you couldn't do anything to alleviate your stress, maybe by using personal and social resources, by using self-care strategies, you are still able to manage your stress better. All right. Okay. So look at this picture here. And some of you, if you have taken a psychology class, maybe you're already familiar with this. What this is talking about is a moderate level of stress is actually helpful. If we don't experience any stress, any kind of pressure at all, sometimes it may just feel like I'm unmotivated. I don't know what I'm working toward. We can feel a little bored, a little lazy, just like what you can see in this picture. And the opposite end of this is if you experience so much stress that you can't really manage it, then it's so overwhelming, it's negatively affecting our body, our mind. It can cause so much pressure on us, so we are not productive anymore. Moderate level of stress can be different for different individuals as well, but it's important that we find that level. So by mentioning this picture, I just want us to think about like stress in a different way. Stress and anxiety, I mean, they are not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes people feel like I'm stressed, I'm anxious, it's a bad thing, I need to get rid of it. And then we get so frustrated when we couldn't get rid of it. But the thing is, a certain level of stress is healthy, is normal. It's just more a matter of how we approach it, how we interpret it, and how we manage it. But if you are experiencing like so much stress on a day-to-day basis, chances are maybe you have too much on your plate. And it can be difficult to, take something off your plate. But sometimes if you have tried a lot of different self-care strategies, anxiety management strategies, and nothing's working, maybe it just means you have too much going on and you need to take something off your plate. This is a really funny picture, okay? Sometimes it can be true though, like we are surrounded by fire and somehow we're like, oh, I'm totally fine, I can deal with this. It's really important that you know your limits and you know when things are overwhelming, so you can tell yourself that it's time to slow down a little bit, it's time to recharge, you don't get totally depleted. It makes more sense to stop and recharge or slow down and recharge instead of waiting until everything's becoming overwhelming and you're totally debilitated. When we get to the point that things are so overwhelming, sometimes, I mean, maybe you want to do something about it, but you're not able to. Maybe you're procrastinating, or sometimes our body could really feel that stress. You may get sick or something like that. Then it might take you more time and effort to get back on track. So the goal here is really for us to be proactive, to have this awareness of what's going on, to check in with ourselves before getting to the point that we are super burned out. Okay, so now let's get into a mindfulness exercise. And I just want this to be something that's meaningful to you. Typically, it's the most helpful if you are in a private space, if you can close your eyes and just give yourself permission to relax for the next 10 minutes or so. If you are somehow you won't be able to do that, just try to do whatever works the best for you. Try to self-care in the next few minutes. Okay, so let's get started. And if you feel comfortable, you may want to close your eyes. So it's easier to turn to your internal experiences and check in with yourself. I'm actually going to close mine. A lot of time when I'm leading mindfulness exercises, I like kind of closing my eyes too, so that I'm not distracted by what I see. All right, so close your eyes if that feels good to you. And then we'll just start with some deep breaths. Breathing in deeply through your nose. Let the air fill your lungs. And then maybe pause for a second. And then gently let the air out through your mouth. Breathing in again whenever you're ready. Breathing in as if you are smelling a cup of hot cocoa on a cold winter day like today. Breathing out through your mouth as if you are breathing out through a straw. Really slow, really controlled breathing. Again, breathing in. Breathing out. And just give yourself permission to be here for the next couple of minutes. Maybe you have something that you need to do after this meeting, or maybe you're already feeling stressed. Just try to give yourself some time. This is your time. If you would like to, you can breathe out through your nose, or you can keep breathing out through your mouth, whatever works the best for you. And when you are breathing again, I want you to pay attention to how your body is moving. I want you to pay attention to the physiological sensations you're experiencing in the body as you're breathing. So maybe, that's your chest or your shoulders rising and falling. That could also be the cool air that comes in, the warm air comes out of your nostrils, or your abdomen going inward and outward. Just notice how your body is feeling. Notice, observe. Do not judge or try to change anything. As you are turning inward, maybe you are becoming more aware of how you're feeling at the moment, physically, emotionally. Just take in that knowledge. Maybe this is the first time of the day that you're sitting with yourself, you're checking in with yourself. Imagine that maybe you're checking in with a friend. You're like, okay, how are you? Let me sit next to you and talk to you and hear from you and really understand how you're doing today. So do that with yourself. How are you? And become aware of the answer. Try to create a space to hold anything that comes up. Some observations may be positive. Maybe some positive emotions are coming up, like excitement or energetic. And there could also be some neutral emotions and maybe some negative emotions. Sometimes we may feel stressed, anxious, frustrated, or a sense of dread. Just notice. Focus on the breathing, slowing down. Allow yourself to slow down and take this space. If your mind drifts, just gently bring it back and use the physiological sensations, use the sound of your breathing to bring you back. Just remember, there's nothing else you need to do at this moment. There's nowhere else you need to be. You can afford taking a break for a couple minutes and just be here. Notice the rise and the fall of your belly, of your shoulders, of your chest. Try to breathe with your body. You can even make your breath just a little audible so that it can calm you and soothe you and ground you. Even when we feel out of control, we are still in control of our breathing, or we can still use our breathing to come back to a sense of who we are and what we want. And we'll just be here for another minute before we move on to something a little different. Again, if your mind drifts, just acknowledge where it is and bring it back. This is your time. Give yourself permission to be here. So with your eyes still closed, we are going to think about a few questions together. So that's kind of the reflective part of this exercise. Still, try to relax and try to calm your body, calm your mind. But I want you to think about moments that were stressful, maybe in the past few months. Try to run a movie in your head. You don't have to go into a lot of details, but maybe just become aware of stressors you were dealing with or you are dealing with. When things first happened, it might be difficult to really take a look at it, but now we can look back and maybe learn from these experiences. So allow yourself to take a look at your experiences in the past few months. Anything that was stressful. Again, just notice. Just let whatever happens happen. Try to notice what happened without getting caught up by negative emotions or self-blames or anything like that. Just notice. And now I want you to reflect on how you coped with it. Whether you tried to deal with it on your own or whether you sought out support. How did that work? Was it helpful? Or do you wish you could have done something a little different? Again, just remember we are trying to learn from our past experiences. They're in the past. We don't have to change them, and there's no way we can change them. So just focus on whatever answers you're receiving, whatever insights you're having right now. And just take mental notes or physical notes if you would prefer. And maybe in your mind's eye, also just imagine yourself coping effectively or using resources that you wish you could have used in that situation. What would that be like? And now let's just focus back on our breathing again. Notice if your breaths have become shallow. If so, just try to, breathe deeply again. Breathe in and out, gently, slowly. Feel the movement of your body as you're breathing. Allow your breaths to calm you, soothe you, and bring you some comfort to your body and to your mind. Whenever you're ready, just gently open your eyes. Maybe look around, reorient yourself to your space. Okay, so let's talk about stress, and then I'll check in with you about this. So don't forget, the mental or physical notes that you have taken. So a lot of times we experience stress in the following ways. There could be some physical symptoms. You could physically just feel that stress. You could have a sleep problem or appetite changes, or sometimes like stomachache or headache, or we just feel that in the body. That could be a really important signal for ourselves. Sometimes there can be emotional symptoms like anxiety, irritability, fear, sadness, feeling helpless. I definitely feel kind of more emotionally vulnerable when I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed. So I think that's just human nature. Just be mindful of the emotional symptoms as well. There could be some behavioral symptoms. People deal with stress in different ways. For some people, when they are experiencing so much stress, they withdraw, from other people, or maybe they avoid doing things they are supposed to do. It just feels like they want to run away. Okay, that's kind of a normal fight-flight response to anxiety. And some people, maybe it just feels like they totally ignore their emotions. They are becoming a workaholic or more of a workaholic. They just focus on getting things done and they don't really take any time to check in with themselves. That could also be a symptom of stress. And it may work for a while. We are pretty adaptive as individuals, but if we are doing this all the time, we are trying to just push away our feelings and stress, try to work as hard as we can. At some point, we won't be able to do it anymore. So it's not sustainable. So that's also something to be mindful of. Sometimes there could be interpersonal issues. We can become more irritable toward others, or there could be just more kind of like impatience toward others or less communication. And we don't take as much pleasure in activities we typically enjoy. There could be also some cognitive symptoms. Sometimes we would have racing thoughts. We think about everything that's going to happen to the extent that is too much, and we don't ever do anything about anything we need to do. Sometimes we have trouble focusing. Sometimes we have negative thoughts about ourselves. Things like, I'm the worst, or, I'm not good enough. And that can really bring us down. Okay, so that's kind of a general overview of different signs of stress people may experience. For me, something that's really easy for me to notice, and that's a sign of stress, is sometimes when I get stressed, I'm not keeping up with the cleanness of my apartment as much. Sometimes I may have a sink full of dirty dishes, and I really love cooking. When I don't have clean dishes or when my sink is full, I don't feel like cooking. So that's a sign that I'm experiencing a lot of stress. It's time for me to take a break or breathe deeply, or it's going to get to a point maybe I'm becoming too overwhelmed. So I wonder, if there's some specific signals that you are sending yourself, specific symptoms that you have noticed about stress in your life. Okay, so let's go back to the last slide. Because this workshop is about self-care, and it's really important that we check in with ourselves to see what we need. For workshops like this, some people, they want to have more like a reflective experience. They just take notes and think about things and apply different things that I bring up in their lives. While for other people, they may want to, feel connected. They may want to share about things they have realized about their situations, or they may want to talk about things in order to retain that information. So just do whatever works the best for you. But now I want to create some space for anyone who would like to share maybe their symptoms of stress, just for other people to, use as a reference, or to help people gain some awareness of it. Or it could be any of the things that came up as you were checking in with yourself, maybe stressful things that happened last semester and how you wish you could have coped differently. So I just want to create that space for people to share, any observations during the mindfulness exercise, or any signs of stress that typically would signal them something's getting a little too much, too overwhelming. Does anyone want to share about anything?
So Zen, I have a chat comment. It says, I did not know that sadness could be a symptom of stress, and that's good to know.
Okay, good. Yeah, sometimes when we feel a little burned out, for some people it could be sadness, for other people it could be irritability. Somehow we are just not like feeling as well emotionally. So that's definitely, you know, a kind of a symptom of stress. Anything else people want to share before we move on?
See another comments coming in. Somebody says, I definitely find myself getting more irritable. And another says, I know that running has really helped me throughout school. I know that doing that makes us happy, can help us be more productive and manage our stress. And another is, I am thinking about some interactions with my son that I would improve, and thinking about it gave me some good ideas. Thank you.
Good, awesome. Yeah, we can all benefit from checking in with ourselves and learning from our past experiences. I don't run as much, but I take a lot of walks. So that's definitely, you know, exercise sometimes can make us feel better physically and emotionally. There could be other like coping strategies people use. It could be listening to music for some people. It could be, you know, spending time with a pet. There can be a lot of different things. Or you could also just sit down and focus on your breathing. Hopefully the mindfulness exercise we did was relaxing, and that's something you can totally do on your own. There's a lot of helpful recordings online. Okay, I see.
Somebody else commented, yeah, I love, oh, let me get back in there. I love to use essential oils and taping techniques when stressed out. Thanks for this info. And then I sit in the sun and focus on the warmth to help me relax.
That's really good. Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes tapping can be helpful for some people, like using some kind of like body kind of movement can be helpful. So when things are really stressful, some people like to, you know, close their eyes and just gently rock themselves, which sounds kind of silly, but it can be helpful. Or something as simple as you can put like your hands on your chest and gently like rub your chest a little bit, or you can like stroke your arms or something like that. So sometimes because our mind body is connected, when we are able to connect with our body, it can really soothe us and relax us. Awesome. Okay, so I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen. Will I be able to share a document with the participants, Ryan?
Yeah, I believe so, yes, because you have total control.
Okay, yeah, let me share something in the chat. Let's see. Okay, so you can open it up, and I'll also share that on the screen. Give me one moment. Okay, so this is a document that I want to share with you so that you can write down a few coping strategies or self-care strategies that really work for you. People already shared a few, and I will briefly comment on the ones that I wrote down here. But before, you know, we go to that part, I wonder if there's any other, you know, coping strategies or self-care things that you do that you have found to be helpful. it doesn't have to be 10 specific things, but as people are talking about things, if there's specific coping strategies coming to mind, feel free to write it down so you can take a look at it the next time you feel stressed out. You don't have to like think about, oh, what do I do? What should I do? It's kind of hard to come up with something in the moment. But when you have like a list of things, this could be your plan. When things are stressful, you can slow down and you can do one of the things on the list.
Zen, do you want that self-care toolkit to go to everyone?
Yes. Did it go to everyone?
It just went to hosts and panelists. So
Okay.
yeah, just switch that from host to panelist to everyone.
Thank you.
I was able to share it with everyone's end, so don't worry about it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I see there are some comments. Ryan, would you like to read it or should I read it?
Go ahead.
Okay, so let's see. Where were we? Okay, talking to a close friend or a family member, that can be really helpful to have that social support. When I'm stressed, I call a friend. Good, that's a good idea. Journaling, where you write, black journaling. That's interesting. I never heard of this term before. So you write every negative thing on your mind. Then when you can't think of anything else, you burn the more up and release it. Okay. Anything else? Something you're doing or something maybe you hope to do more. Okay, get outside, run, hike, backpack, climb. Yeah, awesome. Okay, I designated my bed as a recharging station. If I get too stressed, I get under my covers and my body knows it's a safe place to release everything. Awesome, good. I like to go on a drive along and listen to music to help me reset if I have had a stressful day. Nature really helps me. I go for a drive, listen to music. I want to do yoga. Okay, good. Haven't done that yet, but I have a new goal after just going to a Be Well webinar. Okay, yeah. Writing down logical statements about the stressful situation helps to see clearly. Spend time with my pet. Awesome. Want to focus more on meditation every morning. Great. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, driving, listening to music, breathing exercises. Good. A funny show to watch. Awesome. Okay, good. So when people are talking about like using an app for meditation or breathing, what app do you use? If you can just write it in the chat to so everyone can see it. Okay, swim, that can be good. Insight timer, great. Yeah, that's the one I really like as well. Fitbit, they have some programs there. Okay, Alexa, play some healing music. Good. Calm, that's a good app. Mindfulness. All right, thank you. Okay, so okay, there's one more. Insight Timer. Insight Timer is an app that you can download on your phone. It has a lot of recorded meditations that you can listen to. There's also like a meditation timer function that I really like. Basically, you can do like a 10-minute silent meditation. You can set a bell at the beginning of the session or in between so that you can just sit and focus on your breathing. Okay, playing volleyball with friends, great. Awesome. So it sounds like people all have some good ideas. So I would encourage you to write it down here. Like I said, when things are really, really stressful, sometimes we are so like caught up. It's really hard to think about what to do. So if you already have a list of things, then it's easier to remember to do something to slow down. Okay, so religious activities like praying can be really helpful. Noises.online website is great for background noises and of various kinds. Good. All right. So I'm going to, just mention a few things to you here on this that you could explore on your own. Maybe you're already familiar with some of the resources here. Some of them may be a little new to you. So this first thing I want to share, let me just copy the link. Okay, let's see. Okay, one moment. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen with you now. If you go on YouTube and go to the channel Aggie Mental Health, you can find some recordings for our workshops in the past. One of them is on stress management and wellness, which I think is really relevant to this topic of self-care. There are 6 videos in total. Each of them is about 20 minutes long and focus on a specific skill. It could be, breathing exercises. It could be progressive muscle relaxation. It's very experiential, so you can just follow Luan Helms, who's the presenter, and you can just learn how to manage stress and anxiety. So that's something you could explore a little bit on your own. Okay, let's come back to this. Mindfulness and meditation is something that can be very helpful. Sometimes when we are overwhelmed, we are either thinking about everything that we need to do in the future, we feel anxious, we feel out of control, or sometimes we think too much about what happened, things we could have done differently, what ifs, and sometimes we feel really sad, really down. So mindfulness is about staying in the present moment. When we are just focusing on the present moment, like when we were doing the breathing exercise, sometimes things are not as stressful. When we focus on what we feel, it's easier for us to remind ourselves of the bigger perspective instead of focusing on, the things that are super stressful and losing ourselves in it. And there's a lot of different ways of practicing mindfulness. You could use like a meditation app, like Insight Timer that people mentioned. That's a really good one. You could also do like a meditation group. And there's a community group here in Cache Valley. You can just search for it if you're interested. I'm sure you can find out where they meet. I think they still meet on Mondays. There's also a lot of informal ways of practicing mindfulness. So for example, mindful eating. And we eat, we all eat. That's just a normal thing we do as human beings. When we practice mindful eating, we try to pay attention to food that we're eating. Sometimes we eat so quickly that we don't notice what we're eating. And sometimes, we don't even feel full after we have eaten a lot of food. Mindful eating is about slowing down and really focus on what you're eating. You focus on, the taste of the food. You focus on how your body is feeling. So that could be a very relaxing activity. You just need to kind of slow down when you are doing something you already do. And that can be a very relaxing activity to try. We could do mindful walking, and this is something I do a lot. Sometimes during my lunch break, I just really need to not think about anything related to work. So I would take maybe a 5-10 minute walk on campus. I will just, slow down and notice what I see, what I hear and feel. And sometimes just try to slow down in the body as well. I really like taking a walk in the fall when there's like leaves on the ground, and you can hear the leaves, the sounds of the leaves as you are walking on them. That somehow really helps me to let everything else go and focus on the present moment. A lot of times we can use our 5 senses to ground ourselves. So it's really helpful when you're taking a walk and you're just focusing on your 5 senses, and try to not focus on anything on your to-do list or things that already happened that you don't have control over. Again, you just want to give yourself permission to be fully present, to take a break. Silent meditation, we already talked about it. The principle is you watch your thoughts and feelings come and go, and you take a step back from them. So it's kind of like seeing the storm or the waterfall. You can see what's happening, you can see your thoughts, but when we take a step back, our thoughts or emotions don't have as much power over us. There's a difference between, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm such a bad person, and oh, I notice right now I'm being hard on myself right now. I'm judging myself for not being good enough. Just being able to take a step back, that's something that will make a huge difference. I mean, it sounds super easy. It is not, but hopefully it gives you some ideas to work with. If you are interested in silent meditation or guided meditation, you could just look up different resources a little bit more, or you can use an app to do that. Yoga can be really helpful. It's moving meditation. You could watch some videos on YouTube. There's a lot of them. There's a couple on Fitbit as well, I think. You could also download an app. There's an app I use. It's called Down Dog. There's a space in between the OWN space and then DOG, and it's pretty good. I use it a couple times a week. It really helps me to just keep track of how I'm feeling in the body. It also helps you release some tension so you don't carry a lot of your tension into your sleep or into your relaxation activities. Okay, and self-soothing with 5 senses. I kind of mentioned it already. It can be just really helpful when we use our 5 senses to soothe ourselves. For me, the sense of touch sometimes can be really powerful. So when things are stressful, like I put my hands on my chest and just remind myself, you know, it is okay, or, you know, just breathe, like physiological sensations and touch can be really, really helpful for me. Or sometimes it's like you can give yourself a hug, or you can, you know, tap a little bit, kind of a butterfly hug. That can be really soothing as well. For some people, they may enjoy wrapping themselves in a blanket. That can be really comforting, or if you have a stuffed animal, that can be something you use if things are getting a little frustrating. You can be like feeling that, you know, that soft sensation that can be helpful, or something like taking a bubble bath. That can also be really relaxing. Some other ways to self-soothe with our 5 senses, we could use vision. We can take a walk in the park, sit in the garden, watch a video. Sometimes when we are seeing something different, then it's easier for us to focus on, you know, our new experiences. A lot of times when I get really burned out, really frustrated, if I stay in my apartment, typically I feel frustrated, I feel burned out, my feelings don't change a whole lot. But if somehow I am able to convince myself I need to take a walk, or I need to, you know, just get the mail from the mailbox or something, a lot of times I will feel a little better because of the change of scenery. We could also self-soothe with hearing, listening to nature sounds, or sometimes we could also plan out like a list of songs that are comforting. And then sometimes when we need that relaxation, we can just play that playlist. We can self-soothe with smell. For some people, like the smell of lotion, or I think someone mentioned essential oil, that can be like really, really soothing, really helpful. Some people like to like smell freshly baked cookies or food. So you can also figure out if that's something that works for you. We can self-soothe with taste, a special treat, and just eat it slowly, mindfully, trying to savor every bite of it. Okay, so that's also something you can try on your own. All right. Any questions before we move on to the next part? Okay, so let me share my screen again. I want to share with you some resources that's available not only to students, but also to faculty and staff. So if you go to Aggie Wellness and you click on mental health, there's a list of services that we provide typically to students, but you can watch our workshops, you can attend our workshops. So if you click on workshops schedule, you can see that we already have a couple workshops that we recorded from last semester. There's a couple on self-care. If you want to check them out, you could. There's also one on perfectionism and mindfulness, mindful self-compassion. So all these workshops are on YouTube, and it's only about an hour long or so. We also have some live workshops coming up this semester. If you're interested in the topic and the schedule works for you, you can just click on this link during the schedule time. Our next one is on kind of like winter blues, or sometimes when people struggle with winter or seasonal affective disorder. So Monique is helping people learn more about how to cope with it, how to thrive. And this is happening actually today. There's a mindfulness workshop coming up, and sleep habits, healthy sleep habits. So you can take a look and see if there's anything you're interested in. All right. I also do want to quickly mention our resources that are available to students. And some of you maybe are USU students, and some of you may not be, so it may be applicable to some of you. We do provide short-term goal-oriented therapy, typically 6 to 8 sessions. We provide a variety of services that's available to students who are taking like a certain number of credits. You have to be a student registered to take classes in order to receive a lot of our services. So we have consultations available. That's typically a pretty short meeting, 20 to 30 minutes. It can help you identify different treatment options and get some resources. We also have case management appointments. These appointments can be really helpful if you're looking for outside referrals, you want to work with a therapist in the community, and we can help you identify different options you have, and just look up your insurance and see who are the community providers accepting your insurance. We also provide single session therapy. This is typically a one-time thing, about 40 minutes. You will meet with a therapist, and then you will focus on one of the things that you want to work on. So it's more problem solving kind of oriented, solution-based. We have some group therapy available. We have some structured groups, skills training group and mindfulness group. We also have some semi-structured interpersonal process group that we call understanding self and others group. These groups can be a really good place for interpersonal learning. There's also a trauma group for people who are working on trauma or who have worked on trauma in the past. Support groups that we have are also on this schedule. If you are interested in any of our services, feel free to give us a call. Our number is right here, and the front desk can tell you what to do next. Okay, so let me stop sharing. That's honestly everything I planned for this presentation. Do people have any questions about this topic or about CAPS services you would like to ask? Awesome. Okay, so Aggie Thrive is an additional resource for benefited employees. Good.
Well, Zen, looks like no other questions here, but I'm so glad you shared those workshops that are available through CAPS. I don't think people realize all the resources that you have. It's more than just, sit-in therapy sessions, and there's so many resources that you guys offer, and so beneficial. And it's not just students here on Logan campus, it's statewide. where students can access these resources through your office. And so I appreciate you sharing those things.
You're welcome. Thank you for organizing this, Ryan.
Okay, well, I appreciate you your presentation. And again, this is recorded. So if we want to go back and look at it and see the resources in the presentation again, it's online. And so we'll leave it here and stop recording. And so again, I appreciate your help and thank you for your presentation, Zen.